Hey everyone, this show made possible today by Animoto. It's the company we use for all our slideshows on our websites, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. Check them out, animoto.com.
On today's episode, we're going to talk about perceived value and how that applies to what you can charge with clients. Also, we have an interview with Monteith, and she's going to be talking about the one thing that's keeping studios from being profitable.
Ooh, I'm excited to hear that one. Also, we have a new marathon marketing moment, and we're going to take a viewer question from Texas. Welcome to Photo Entrepreneur TV, the place where serious photographic entrepreneurs learn to profit from their passion.
So as you can see, we don't have our Seahawk garb on today.
Not today.
We're hoping that they won the Super Bowl last night, but if not, congratulations to what's the other team?
Why are you even going to bring up Denver? Come on now. The funny thing is, we film these usually like a week ahead of time, so we're actually filming this Wednesday of last week, so we have no idea if our beloved Seahawks had won the Super Bowl. If they did, awesome. If they didn't, we'll just have to move on, find a way.
It's been fun though watching. I mean, this community has rallied. I mean, there always been fans, but I mean, there's Seahawk flags everywhere, and I mean on people's cars and in their windows. I mean, it's bonkers. It's nuts. So anyway, hopefully we did win, but if not, there's next year, right?
Yeah, there is always next year. But I think we should start focusing on the show and stop talking about the Seahawks.
Sorry.
It's okay. We're very passionate fans here. So today's show is all about perceived value. And, that's a buzzword that's thrown around by so-called gurus and people all the time. But we're going to cover three sort of concrete ways that you can increase your perceived value. And it's the perceived value that your clients see. I think that's one thing that photographers miss out on a lot, is they don't think like a client. They think like a photographer, and really you have to get inside your client's head and figure out what they're looking for and what they value, and that's really kind of how you do that perceived value. So why don't you start us off, Dad? What's number one?
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit. I mean, perceived value to me equals what you can charge, okay? And there's some different ways you can do that. I just want to use an example that I got for Christmas from Josh's kids, my grandkids, and I don't know if Melissa saw this on Pinterest or where she saw this, but rather than just a little, a painting on a piece of paper that I can hang up, that grandpas do, this is on a piece of canvas with acrylic paints. I mean, how cool is that? And so, perceived value of this, just because it is on canvas, and it is very cute. I'm sure it would be cute on paper or cardboard or whatever, but the actual perceived value of this being on canvas, to me, really heightens, what it is. It's the same way with our photography. I mean, we can, just give it on a disc, here you go, or you can just give it on a print, here you go, or, that is a client print. I shouldn't have done that. Or
H&H, I need a reorder. Bruce ruined another 8x10.
It was the lab's fault. Nah, never. Or it can be, something like this, where you have this beautiful photographic piece of art. At least our clients perceived it as such. I think part of the reason that they are willing to pay is because of the perceived value. It's not just on photographic paper or an inkjet. It is real photographic paper mounted on canvas, sprayed, and it's seen more as a piece of artwork. So that's kind of what I mean by perceived value. I'm not going to throw this. I'm just going to.
I wouldn't throw that one either.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's amazing how. And actually, well, that's point number 3. We'll talk about that. Let's not get off track here. So number 1, I'll throw it back to myself. Number 1, you got to have a killer web presence. Okay. To build perceived value for yourself, nowadays, if your website is not up to snuff, and by that I mean mobile friendly, it's got to make a statement about who you are. I mean, there's all these companies out there that have these template websites, and photographers are buying them or they're getting them for free, and everybody looks the same. It's the same in the dentist world and the lawyer's world. trust me, they all look the same. You know, you don't stand out. You know, there's no perceived value there. So you got to have a killer web presence. That's your website. That's your Facebook. That's your Pinterest page. If you're doing Instagram, Twitter, I mean, all that kind of stuff. Google Plus, the list goes on and on and on. But you have to have a killer web presence. And my dad and I were talking about how we were one of the first real high-end studios across the country to do sort of the Groupons and the Living Socials and the Amazon Locals, and we got hate mail from photographers, okay? And the thing is, we made it work because we made it sort of how we do our charitable auction donations, okay? We won't go into super detail here about it, but we made it work, and we pulled in some whales of a clients. I mean, it was nuts, okay? And, you know, people buying a $67 deal, coming to our studio and spending thousands. I mean, we had one sale that was almost $9,000 from a Groupon, you know? But the thing is, our perceived value online led the right type of clientele to us. So it makes a huge difference. And Dad, what's number 2?
Number 2 is having a good product line. You know, rather than just offering just a session and something on a CD, offer prints. That's one reason why we love H&H Color Lab, because they have so many amazing products, not just the canvas prints, but jewelry and metal prints and all that kind of stuff. Now, granted, we put most of our emphasis in large wall decor.
Yeah.
The reason being what?
It's the most profitable.
Yes.
You can charge a hefty amount for it. It's got a lot of perceived value to it. You know, there's going to be a ceiling. If you're selling discs of images, you're going to reach a point in your career where you're not going to be able to charge $5,000 for a disc of 20 edited images. It's not going to work, okay? There's a ceiling that you're going to hit. But when it comes to these large canvas wall portraits, the sky really is the limit, guys. I mean, we're high-end here in the Seattle area, but there's photographers that charge double, triple, quadruple what we charge in other parts of the country, because that perceived value is there. And we're providing enough value to the client for them to be willing to invest that type of money for these pieces of art that they put up in their home.
Yeah, so obviously the client has to perceive your work as a piece of artwork to invest that much in there, and I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
So what's number 3?
Number 3 is really your physical presence, okay? The way you market yourself, the way you brand yourself, getting involved in the community, being seen, in many ways having a physical location. We get people emailing all the time saying, you know, the days of the brick and mortar studio over. Well, for us, I mean, we did sort of right-size our studio. We didn't need all the overhead of the big commercial building and the 1-acre portrait park, you know, and all that anymore. The way that the business is today, you don't need that. We don't need 6 employees doing production masking negatives. You know, we have Amy, who is our little Photoshop wizard, who does the work of 3 people in an afternoon. She's amazing. But for us, having a physical location for clients to come and meet with us, and they walk in and they see the beautiful wall portraits, they see the product line that we sell, it really ups our perceived value. And it's amazing to me the transformation, and I know you see it too, when when a new client walks into the studio, their perception of what a photographer is when they walk in and what their perception is an hour later when they walk out. It's completely different.
Well, it's changed over the years. It really has. And I think that's one thing that we'll be talking about in Ask a Hudson segment is a question that came up, which actually prompted this whole episode.
It did.
Of perceived value, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, you know, perceived value, remember, the more perceived value you have, the more you can charge. And that's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions, comments, we want to hear from you.
Please.
Go to mystudiomentor.com, click on Web TV episodes, find this episode, which is episode 5. I can't believe we're on our 5th episode already. 5. And leave a comment. We will get back to you.
So one of the top business people, I think, in the industry, and has been for a long time, is Ann Monteith out of Pennsylvania. And I had the opportunity to interview her, and this is part 1 of that interview. So I'm here with Ann Monteith. We're at the Marathon Getaway, MAP program Getaway, and She has all the accolades you could ever want. She's a master craftsman certified. We both actually won or were honored with the Helen Yancey Award through PPFA, which is the Professional Photographers of America. And Ann does a lot of consulting with studios on management, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about a little bit. So what's one of the key things that you've seen that keeps studios from being profitable?
Well, it sounds silly that it could be just this one simple thing. If you could change anything in your business, or if I could wave a magic wand and get photographers to pay attention to one single thing, it would be, please don't shoot so much. Because in our era when we started, if, as you know, in a camera room, we rarely made more than 20 images. And that set the tone for everything that we did from there. How can we maximize what we have photographed in those 20 images to make the client be very happy with what they had and make a good living for ourselves? And we both came to the same conclusion. Large wall portraits, that's where the profit margin was. Well, when I started, 8x10 was the norm. And so we had to develop our own systems of projection, and we were the earliest adopters of this. And we taught other people how to do it, and all of those people became enormously successful because we knew where the profit margins were. And now as I look at where we are, I've come to the conclusion that we're almost back to 1982, where we were beginning to teach people how to be successful by projecting things, because today the industry, the large majority, particularly of newer photographers, are trying to make a living 1 8x10 at a time. And you and I know it can't be done. We cannot make enough 8x10s. And the fact that they're not even being sold at what it costs to produce them. And so if I could do nothing else but to get people to just not shoot so much and start shooting with intention, having the planning session in the beginning with folks to find out what is going to be appropriate for that session. And in doing so, first of all, you're forming a bond with the customer. The second thing is you're coming to a common understanding of expectations. And when you do that, all of a sudden you're all on the same page. You're doing this together and you're not pulling in different directions. And you have the opportunity to talk about value. You have the opportunity to dispel this whole business about why people want variety, why they want to have the disc instead of a good portrait. And that's where we always begin with our clients. I'm assuming that you're here because you want a good portrait. We're going to focus on that outcome. And when we focus on that outcome, the how we get there becomes totally unimportant. I think we're all a little bit offended when somebody says, well, how many images are you going to take? Well, I'm going to take enough to get the job done. And if that's 3, if that's 300, it's not likely to be 300 in my studio. I'm 20 minutes and done. You know, I got other things I've got to do to run a business. So, you know, it's the time in the camera room has to be used wisely, and wisely means it's got to be profitable for everybody concerned.
So how do we get the newer photographers to understand this concept? Because it drives me crazy. I mean, the labs are coming up with all these great products. You know, you got jewelry, you got this card, you got that card, you got these press books, things like that. And there's no profit in it. I mean,
Right.
You can only charge so much for that. How do we get the newer photographers to hear the message that has made you successful, has made me successful? It's kind of ironic when you said back to 1982, because that's when we started the business in 82.
Yes, it is.
And I was very fortunate because I studied with people like yourself and Ken Whitmire, who's now 84 years old. Can you believe that?
And sat in the front row of my class recently. And I mean, boy, what a tribute that is. And, you know, this, let me just bank your question here and tie it in with Ken and education. Because I went to an affiliate school recently. I took a class with Michael and Tina Timmons. Yeah, and that's right, you were there too. And everybody was so shocked that I was attending a class. And it was like, why is this strange? Because the industry has evolved. There are things that I need to learn. There are things that they learn. So not only did I go to their class, a month later I went back again because I wanted to make sure I had mastered what I'd learned. And man, if there's one thing that is hugely different today from what the way we started, was we got our education And I studied portraiture. I went to 5 basic portraiture classes with Joe Zeltzman. And that's how I became a portrait photographer. So get out there and study this stuff. It's, the sad part of it is, from that, I really think the golden age of portrait photography began somewhere in the late 70s. And it sort of ended with the digital transition, because we had brought the lowly 8x10 portrait up into something that is magnificent on the wall. It is artwork, the warmth of which no home can ever see without it. And we had clients, and we still do have clients, because we've maintained that business model, both of us. And they tell us how much it enriches their lives. They understand the value of it. Why? Because we promulgate that in all of our conversations with them.
So is she an amazing business mind or what?
Oh, yeah.
I can see why she is highly sought after. And in fact, she has some workshops coming up. The first one in Atlanta at the end of February, followed by Philadelphia, Houston, and then Des Moines. And I think, can you put a link down for that?
Yeah, if you go to mystudiomentor.com, click on Web TV episodes, find episode 5. On that blog post, I'll put a link where you can find more information about her live seminars that she has. And also leave some questions or comments for her of what you thought of the interview. We'd love to hear from you. All right, well, it is time for one of my personal favorite segments, the Marathon Marketing Moment. I am a marketing geek. I'm one of those people that stays up late at night with a glass of red wine, my wife and I.
Just one?
Multiple, usually. We do have twins that are 2. So now you got me off track.
Sorry.
So anyway, I love marketing. I'm a huge student of it. And kind of during the monologue segment, we talked about having a killer web presence. Well, one way to do that is having a killer website. Now, there's a lot of companies out there, but there's only one that we trust, and that's Marathon. We have been using Marathon websites really since the beginning. All of our websites are done through them. Our main Hudson's Portrait website, which is families, weddings, babies, that kind of stuff. We're actually building a brand new commercial niche website that's going through them. Our high school senior site is through them, as well as our Hudson's Photo Workshops, which is our photo classes that we sell. So we're big fans. Now, in today's sort of web world, fluidity, is that a word? Fluidity? Maybe it's a Hudsonism, I don't know. Anyway, fluidity is really what you're looking for in a website. Now here's what I mean, okay? 51% of all Google search traffic in 2014 will be done on a mobile device or a tablet.
Really?
Yeah. If you have Flash on your website, you're dead. Bottom line, it doesn't show up on any Apple device, and you know how popular iPhones and iPads are, okay? You need something, a website that is going to be fluid, so no matter what type of device somebody's trying to find you on, your website's going to look good. Now, Marathon, all of their websites are built on WordPress. And you're probably thinking, oh, I've seen WordPress. But these are professionally designed WordPress sites, okay, guys?
Big difference.
Yeah, big difference. You don't have to actually do any of the design. Their world-class designers will do it for you, which I love, because they say, hey, I need a new commercial site. Here's our logo. Show me what you got. A week and a half later, here's a proof. It looks amazing. Now just some final tweaks. Another thing to keep in mind with today's sort of the speed of business today is you have to be able to update your website in real time. The days of sending the request to the admin of the website, the web designer who might
Waiting 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, waiting 2 or 3 weeks. Those days are over. I mean, you need to be able to get things up on the site, change things in real time. And with WordPress, you have the user interface, which Marathon sets up for you. You just log in, make your changes. If you can compose a document in Microsoft Word, you can update a WordPress website.
So you're saying I could do it?
I don't know if I trust him to do it, but he could do it if he wanted to.
I can do PowerPoint.
You do. You're very good at PowerPoint. So, and a great example of that is around the holidays. I wanted to sell gift cards for our photography classes online. I tried selling them the year before, call in, email, you don't sell any. Everything's got to be online if you want to sell it. So between Black Friday and Christmas Eve, I sold 30 gift cards at $125 a pop. We sold out of the boxes that my dad got me at Rice Studio Supply. It was great, and that was a great extra revenue stream for us during the holidays. And it was all made possible by this WordPress site where I was able to go in, put my own shopping cart on there, add these pages, change as I go, and then as soon as the holidays were over, guess what's next? Well, now it's Valentine's Day. I've already updated all the website pages. Now we're selling photo class gift cards with heart-shaped boxes. Does your sweetheart have a thing for photography? that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
So,
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. There's lots of things I do on there.
I'm a lucky father and business partner here. So one thing that we just found out about this morning is that I think starting on Monday, the day that this show airs, Marathon has a 50% off on all their websites.
Yeah.
They have a designer site and they have what's the other one? Premier?
Their premium
site. And I mean, for as little as $75, they can create one of their designer sites. It's normally what, 150? I think.
No, actually.
Or 99.
Yeah. So their designer sites are 99. So 50% off that, and that's actually, I think that's the site we're building our commercial one on. Great website, loving it. And then our high school senior website is one of their premium sites, which are usually $325, and those are 50% off too.
It's crazy.
Yeah, custom designed. It's not going to look like every other photographer's. It's not going to be templated. I mean, WordPress is fluid. You can move things in and out. You can add plugins. You can do whatever you want to do with it. And really, in today's web world, simplicity, fluidity. If you look at a lot of the big boys in the internet world, look at their websites. They're all transitioning towards WordPress. And ding, 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 Google's trying to buy WordPress. What do you think that's going to do to SEO if you have a WordPress site? It's just like YouTube back in 2006 when Google bought them. Now YouTube videos show up higher than even the sponsored posts that you're doing on Google. So, having a killer website and today's marathon marketing moment is check them out. I mean, you got to have it. I know there's a lot of other ones out there. We trust Marathon, we use them, and with this 50% off thing, you have no excuse. I mean, we're thinking of just buying a bunch of websites for future websites. I mean, we don't even going to use them for it yet. But, at that price, what can you say no? So, big thanks to Marathon Press for all your help all these years navigating us through this digital world that we're living in with marketing. And check them out, marathonpress.com. All right, well, it is time for the segment where you, the viewer, get to ask us questions. Ask the Hudsons. Kind of makes me feel like a news anchor here with my piece of paper. Today's question comes from Anthony from Killeen, Texas. Hope I'm saying that right, Anthony. His question is, how important is a physical studio when starting up? Episode 4 had comments which implied that a physical location was important in creating credibility, which is difficult when you're just starting out with this cash flow and stuff. Love the show. Keep it up. Well, thank you, Anthony. I'm going to throw that to you, Dad, because you've been through the gamut. You started out of the home. You went to like a retail space in a strip mall. We had our own commercial building, and now we're in more of a commercial business kind of location. So you've really kind of done it all. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I can sympathize and I can empathize a lot, especially if you're just starting out, and I think that's one thing with all the questions that we've been getting. It's, at what point do I want to try to take this business full time? Mm-hmm. I have a job that I love or a job that I just lost, and what's it going to take to supplement the income? Mm-hmm. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in upcoming episodes. But with this, this is really what sparked the whole perceived value part of the show. Is if you don't have the cash flow right now to start out, I would do everything in your power to try to create as much perceived value as possible. And we kind of covered that, with the websites and with the products that you have. And, rather than maybe meeting at a Starbucks, going to the client's home or having a place to go to. So, I hear you, especially just starting out. It's like, do you have to have a physical location? Mm-hmm. Well, not really, but I think, and you kind of alluded to this earlier, I think the fact that we are able to have a physical location, it's kind of putting us a little bit more in the driver's seat, where 20 years ago, the majority of studios were, a brick and mortar kind of thing. So we've kind of come full circle and almost a half circle again in us and our particular location. So Anthony, what I would probably say is, try and up your game with the perceived value as much as you can. And it might even just be brochures. It might be, once again, your web presence. It might be your the type of products that you offer. It's a hard question. It really is, because I know that money is tight, and especially in certain parts of the country, rent is very high. Just a kind of a sideline here, we were actually able to save 2/3 in overhead when we made the move down here. We're paying less in rent in this office park than what our property taxes were at our other locations. So we were able to kind of revamp our whole business model based on the move down here.
Well, and you just, and I know you were going to answer this, but it just kind of sparked an idea for me. There's that new concept of like a shared business space where you have maybe an interior designer, maybe an architect, maybe a landscape designer, and maybe a photographer. Maybe, you go to some networking meetings, you try to meet with some people that maybe are just getting started and do some shared space. I mean, a lot of doctors have been doing that with kind of the whole Obamacare thing. Instead of having their own practice and all the overhead that goes with it, they're sort of collaborating in sort of a communal space with other like-minded doctors to save money on staff and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that could be a solution. There's also like the Regis business, where you get access to that office 3 days a week for these hours, and you get a receptionist, and you get to put your sign up that it's your office. I mean, it's. I guess the point is, whatever you can do to up your perceived value and separate yourself from everybody else is a good thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully you take that away, Anthony. And I know we talked on the phone before this, and you're going to be watching with those ears wide open. So thanks again. And for all of you that have questions out there, what you need to do is go to mystudiomentor.com, because you might be watching on iTunes or YouTube right now. But go to our actual website, mystudiomentor.com, click on Ask the Hudsons, ask us a question, and if you get it read on air, we'll send you a T-shirt.
All right. Wow, you hear that rain outside?
I don't know if the viewers at home can hear it, but
It's pouring down rain.
It's pouring down rain, and you can hear it banging on top of the roof here. So apologize for that, but we got a business to run, so we got to get this done.
So the takeaway today.
Okay.
The first thing is perceived value. Do whatever you need to do to create the highest perceived value possible.
Yep.
I mean, and think about it as like going to a fine dining establishment versus a greasy spoon. Let's just assume they have the same cut of meat. Why can the fine dining, the Ruth Chris Steakhouse or what? I mean, how can they charge $40 for a steak where the other people can only charge maybe $15 a steak? And just assume that they have the same cut of meat. What are the things that go into that? What elements go into that? And it's the same thing in photography. We all use the same cards, right? In the past, we all use the same film, but why is it that some photographers can charge so much more than others?
Yeah.
So just kind of keep that in mind.
Absolutely. One of my takeaways is I loved what Ann was talking about and how photographers overshoot. You have to remember that time is money. Just because it's not costing you any money to click that button, at least in your mind, it is costing you money, because it's costing you money on the back end. If you're shooting 500 images at a family session when maybe 75 or 100 would get the job done, you now have 400 more images that you have to go through, and you have to tweak, and you have to do all that stuff. And if you're not selling with projection and you're putting them online, you're going to want them to look the best because you're not actually doing the sale with the people, and so you're pre-touching everything, and you're spending 7-8 hours before the client ever sees the images to purchase them. So you just got to remember that. Time is money.
Time is money. And another takeaway for me is the whole website thing. Everybody's moving towards the WordPress. That statistic that you said, 51% on mobile devices, I didn't know that. We need to all be moving that direction. We also need to have access to it, be able to change it like that. Josh is excellent at that. And so that's one thing that you really need to start looking at. I let our website go, our first one. I was very complacent. I go, I've been in business for 25 years. I don't need this thing. I was wrong. So make sure. What?
Nothing. Keep talking. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see here.
So just make sure you look into updating your website.
Well, and we're taking our own advice on that, because our main studio website it's up this year to be redone. We redid it about 3-4 years ago. It's great. It still works really. I mean, it still gets the job done. We're getting the right type of clients in. But I am noticing with the more mobile traffic, and our site is not super mobile friendly, I'm noticing that there's an uptick in our bounce rate because people are having a hard time seeing it on their phones. So I mean, I watch these numbers, guys, because I can see the spikes and the ebbs and flows, and you got to be able to change with the times. And so I'm really looking forward to have Marathon redo our main studio website, because all of our other websites are completely updated and all on WordPress now. And it's going to help business that much more. And I just feel so fortunate that we're in a position right now where we can get that done. And with Marathon's 50% off, hello, yes, we're going to do it. So
We're doing it.
That's my takeaway, your takeaway.
Good takeaways.
Good takeaways.
Well, we come to the end of our 5th episode. It's hard to believe. Just want to... What's that again?
Wow.
Just want to say thanks for watching. We have been getting tons of comments and a lot more views than we ever thought we would. I think we're really striking a nerve, and we really appreciate, once again, all the comments and all the support that we're getting online.
And I will leave you with one more thing, okay? I talked to a lot of you on the phone. I talked to a lot of you via email, on Twitter, Facebook. I know a lot of you hurting out there, okay? You can do this, all right? You can do this. I'll repeat it one more time. You can do this, okay? You're not going to eat the whole elephant with one bite, just small little nibbles, but you can do this. You can get through it, okay? If we can do it, if we can go 31 years, and we went through some dark days 4 or 5 years ago, guys, just like everybody else. Our studio was way down, and you can do this. You can pull yourself out of it. Take our advice. We've been doing this a long time. And if you have any questions, go to mystudiomentor.com, ask the Hudsons, and hopefully we'll get it on the air and we'll get it answered for you. So with that, thanks for watching Photo Entrepreneur TV, the place where serious photographic entrepreneurs learn to profit from their passion.